148 का जो टाइम आपने अपॉर्चुनिटी दी, वो मेन इशू को नोटिस जो करने के लिए 149(1) के लिए वो एक्सक्लूड होगा। ये यहाँ पर 148A के लिए भी ऑर्डर की बात कर देता है। जो टाइम लिमिट कैसे होगी, टाइम लिमिट मेरी 31 मार्च है, अगर तो अगर मेरे को नोटिस उससे पहले दिया उसने, तो जो आपने अपॉर्चुनिटी दी 148 में, वो टाइम लिमिट 31 मार्च से बियॉन्ड चला जाएगा। पर ये 7 डेज कौन सी बात करता है? इसका मतलब ये होगा 7 डेज अगर 31 मार्च से पहले के हैं तो 148(1) का ये ऑर्डर की डेट और नोटिस इशू की डेट सेम हो गई, विच कैन नॉट बी द पोजिशन। पहले उसको ऑर्डर पास करना है, देन नोटिस इशू करना है, क्योंकि नोटिस के साथ उसको ऑर्डर की कॉपी देनी है 148D की। तो देयर अपीयर्स टू बी सम लैक्यूना हियर इन माय ओपिनियन। सर बाकी जो है आप 151 पे अगर देखें सर, जो प्रिंसिपल ऑफिसर है वहां, सर अगेन देयर इज अ लैंग्वेज 151 में
151 हाँ,
specified authority for the purpose of section 148 and 148A shall be principal officer or principal director or commissioner or director if 3 years or less than 3 years have elapsed। अगर 3, इसमें इंटेंशन ये है कि क्लॉज 1 में अगर 3 साल का पीरियड है तो प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर, और 3 साल से बियॉन्ड है तो प्रिंसिपल चीफ कमिश्नर। दैट इज व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड। बट लैंग्वेज इसकी आ गई, इफ 3 years have elapsed देन प्रिंसिपल कमिश्नर। तो यहाँ पे विद इन 3 years वर्ड जो ना इसके लैंग्वेज। नेक्स्ट में जो है वो मतलब दिस कुड बी सिंपल लैंग्वेज विद इन 3 years और आफ्टर 3 years। नाउ दिस इफ 3 years have elapsed तो 3 साल चलेगा जी।
ठीक है, चलो। और नेक्स्ट ब्रदर,
In regard to
शुक्ला
this
सर
particular issue, that is what
ले लीजिए सर, उधार पे कुछ टाइम के लिए टीपीएल में ले लीजिए सर इनको।
हाँ ठीक है, नहीं
काफी
हो
अच्छे
गया
पॉइंट निकालते हैं। हाँ नहीं, अच्छे निकालते हैं पॉइंट। हाँ
यस, नेक्स्ट टॉपिक भी ले सकते हैं।
अजय शुक्ला साहब has joined.
सर जीसी साहब, anybody else has to say anything?
अजय
शुक्ला जी ज्वाइन।
शुक्ला जी has joined.
हाँ
शुक्ला साहब ज्वाइन।
ओ शुक्ला साहब,
गुड आफ्टरनून सर। गुड आफ्टरनून
अमित शुक्ला साहब, इनको आप अनम्यूट कर दीजिए सर, आपको अनम्यूट करना है अपने आप को, अमित शुक्ला साहब को। ठीक, हाँ सर, हमें हेलो कर दीजिए।
प्लेजर लिसनिंग हियरिंग टू ऑल द इंटेलेक्चुअल पीपल हियर। आप मुझे इतने बढ़िया कमलेश वाटसन साहब वाज एक्सप्लेनिंग एवरीथिंग, आप लोग इतना कर रहे हैं।
नहीं, आपकी आवाज सुननी थी।
Really this provision is to mitigate the litigations. Let's see, because I remember when Palkiwala na, all the amendments brought in the direct tax in the name of simplification has in fact complicated in times to come. I will tell you perhaps this will be easy, but yes, spirit is definitely the spirit of the government, and the CBDT is to mitigate the litigation and most of the things. Yes, एक उसकी जान जरूर ले ली कि रीजन टू बिलीव वाज सब्जेक्ट टू वेयर वी यूज्ड टू जंप इन, और हम डिसाइड करते थे रीजन टू बिलीव। अब रीजन टू बिलीव हटा दिया तो उसकी आत्मा तो चला दी, उन्होंने हटा दी। लेट्स सी परहैप्स ऑल दोस थिंग्स, बट डेफिनेटली इट इज अ वेरी वेलकम स्टेप, बारिंग कपल ऑफ इश्यूज व्हिच ही सेड कि वो छोड़ दीजिए, वो हम लोग कोर्ट लोग इंटरप्रेट कर देंगे, डोंट वरी मिस्टर गुप्ता। लेकिन जो 153 में इंक्रीमेंटिंग नहीं था, काबिल चावला ने कर दिया, तो हम लोग भी कुछ ना कुछ कर देंगे, डोंट वरी। बाकी अदरवाइज सेक्शन इज गुड।
Yeah, that's right.
No, compliments to Vastu sahab. And coming from Amit Shukla sahab, they have lot of value, I must say. अच्छा, अब जिस श्रीवास्तव साहब, anything that needs to be said on this, क्या आगे चले?
नहीं, बिल्कुल आगे चले, ये तो बहुत वेलकम स्टेप था, और ये तो ठीक है, दिस इज डन।
चलिए, अब नेक्स्ट गौतम, आपका है पोर्टफोलियो कि आगे?
गौरव कैन टेक अप।
गौरव,
I am starting with partnership firm amendment.
Okay.
Section 45.
आवाज नहीं आ रही,
वॉइस।
Am I audible?
हाँ,
now it is okay.
Okay. So Ajay ji, I have prepared small slides. So would you permit me?
Yes, sir. You are always welcome to. And this
sir, you will have to enable me to share that screen.
SB, Mr. SB Singh.
Yes, sir. Doing.
Will the slide.
Yes, sir. You can go.
Okay.
Ahead.
So Ajay ji, what I'm doing is I'll be briefly explaining the provision for the benefit of all, so that we all are on the same page. And then I'll be raising the questions which are for Mr. Varshney, which are still remaining.
Perfect. Perfect.
Right?
Go ahead.
Right. So, sir, first is with respect to what has happened. Yes, sir. So, sir, the first is with respect to
GC श्रीवास्तव साहब, आपकी आवाज आ रही है? GC श्रीवास्तव साहब, हाँ.
So, sir, first is the amendment in section 45(4). Under the existing provisions, wherever a partner withdraws capital lying in the partnership firm, that is not subject to tax. And specifically when the assets of the partnership firm are revalued, credit is given to the capital account, even that is not taxable. And that is for the reason that under the general law, partnership firm is not considered as a separate entity, but is a compendium of partners. And when the partner withdraws his share, even a revalued share in the capital account, it is considered to be withdrawal of his pre-existing right in that firm. So, and that was the ratio laid down by several cases, more particularly the decision of Supreme Court in this case of Mohan Bhai Pama Bhai, which I have displayed on my screen. The exception to this provision was section 45(4), which is there in the present statute, which provided that in case of distribution of capital asset on dissolution or of firm or otherwise, the capital gain tax will be leviable in the hands of firm. So this was an exception to the general rule, whereby by way of a deeming fiction, this section was imposed. But there was limitation to this section in as much as this was applicable only in case of distribution of capital asset, and that too by in case of dissolution or otherwise. A situation where there was no withdrawal of capital asset, there was no provision in the existing statute which was bringing it to tax. Now, in order to bring distribution of money other than capital asset to capital gain tax in the hands of or in such a transaction, amendment has been proposed in existing provision of section 45(4), and a new provision has also been inserted, that is section 45(4)(a). First, I'll read section 45(4) because there has been amendment in this section also. It is from section 4 in section 45 to provide that if any partner of the firm receives during the previous year any capital asset as a result of dissolution or reconstitution. So the word added over is reconstitution, which represents his or her capital balance at that time. Then the profit, that is FMV of the capital asset minus cost of acquisition of asset arising from receipt of such capital asset by the partner, will be taxable as capital gains in the hands of the firm. So capital asset is being received by the partner, but taxation thereof is happening in the hands of the firm. And the basis of computation is the FMV of capital acquisition. And the important insertion is earlier it was only a case of dissolution, and the courts have held that even a case of retirement will not fall within the realm of the existing provision, and therefore in order to cover even those cases, now reconstitution of firm has also been included. So reconstitution would include if there is a retirement of partner, or if there is an existing change in the profit sharing ratio of the partners of the firm, even that will now fall within the realm of new provision, and that can also be subject to taxation. There are certain open questions on this provision. First, I'll come to the next provision, which is section 45(4)(a), which has been newly inserted. Now, this seeks to cover distribution of money or other asset other than capital asset. So if there's a distribution of capital asset, then that is taxable under section 45(4). But if there is a distribution of money, which is beyond the capital balance post revaluation of the capital of the partner, then that will be taxable under section 45(4)(a). So otherwise, language the taxation will be difference between the money which has been given or fair market value of any other asset that has been given, less balance in the capital account. Balance in the capital account is to be computed by ignoring the revaluation of the firm. If any corresponding credit made to the partner's capital account, that will be taxable as capital gains in the hands of the firm. So while the capital will be withdrawn by the partner, but taxation is in the hands of the partnership firm. So therefore, basically this new provision seeks to expand the scope of existing provisions and seeks to undo the existing juris capital is not taxable in the hands of the firm or the partner, but in case of distribution of money also it is seeking to impose. Sir, there are many open questions which are there in the interpretation of this section, which I will raise and maybe then my experts can supplement on it. Sir, this now when we see section 45(4), we are not able to appreciate the working or the meaning of the clause which represents his or her capital balance at that time. Because when we are distributing the capital asset, capital gain is to be computed by taking the difference between the fair market value of the capital asset and its cost of acquisition. That will be taxable whenever it is distributed. Then what is the significance of this expression which represents his or her capital balance? So for instance, I'll take a situation. If I have a capital balance of 100 and I am distributing a capital asset of, let us say, 80, as well as giving him money of 20, then how this computation will need to be done, both to be bifurcated between 45(4) and 45(4)(a). So this expression seems to be
no.
Yes, sir.
If your capital balance is 100 and you are only giving him 80 and 20, then it is only 45(4). 4A is not in the picture. 4A will be in the picture only when you are giving him more than the capital balance.
So let us say I have a capital balance of 100, and after removing the impact of revaluation, it reduces to 80. I'll revise my example. My capital balance is 100, but ignoring the revaluation aspect, it reduces to 80. So 80 was my original capital and revalued part was 80 plus 20 is equal to 100. Now against this 100, I am giving him 80 capital asset and 20 money. So in this situation, this present provision becomes unworkable to my humble understanding, because there is no significance to this expression which represents his or her capital balance at that time. Possibly this is getting applicable only where I am distributing capital asset to the extent of capital balance.
Hey, Gaurav.
Yes, sir.
Gaurav, sir, Varshney sir, the point appears to be that, say there is a balance after excluding revaluation, say 100 rupees. Now the capital asset is being given to the partner whose cost of acquisition in the case of partnership, but now fair market value is 200. So as per this section, difference between the fair market value and the balance of the partner, which is 100, only 100 is to be taxed. Then what will be the balance about 50 rupees? How this will work? That appears to be the point. Because in section 48, they again taxation of the capital asset on the transfer of capital asset. Section 48 may 4A is mentioned, but not the 4.
Yes, sir. That was my next point.
Gautam,
yes, you are right, sir.
Am I right?
Yes. So 48, when it talks about substitution of cost of acquisition, then also it only mentions 45(4)(a).
4A, but not the 4. So if the cost of acquisition is, say, 50 of the firm, balance is 100, that is being...
Can you repeat the example? What is cost?
Sir, example is
capital? What is capital?
Sir, cost of acquisition is, say, 150 rupees in case of firm. Balance of the partner is 100 rupees. And now fair market value is 200 of that asset.
Right.
Then as per this provision, difference between the fair market value and balance in the capital account, which is 100 only, that is to be charged as capital gain. So whether that is okay?
No, that is not the interpretation. According to me, that should not because they are pegging the definition of capital asset to capital balance.
Capital asset now is, say, 200 fair market value. And capital balance is 100. Cost of acquisition is not coming here in picture.
I think that Mr. Varshney can clarify.
Yes.
This example which you have given, maybe we may have to relook at the drafting, but the intention is that to the extent of capital, it will get taxed under 4, and beyond that, it will get taxed under 4A, beyond capital. So now your capital is 100, right?
Yes,
so you have given partner a set worth 200 rupees.
Correct, sir.
So to the extent of 100, it will get taxed under 4, and their cost of acquisition will come into the picture, and 50 rupees will get taxed. And beyond 100, another 100 rupees will get tax under 4A.
Sir, that doesn't appear to be
That
language.
that not
That
come out
doesn't
from the
appear to be the
language.
language of the section, sir.
Sir, second point. Now, section 45 capital asset as is being displayed in the screen, and 45(4)(a) uses the expression any money or other asset. Now, other asset is, sir, wide enough term to include a capital asset also. So, what is going to be applicable? Whether 45(4)(a) or 4, whether 4 is going to be applicable only when I'm distributing capital asset, or when I'm distributing capital asset plus money, 4A will be applicable, or the connotation of other asset is something different than capital asset. So that
No, it could be
expression
any
is not,
asset. Could be any asset.
no, so my difficulty is, sir, capital asset is being taxed under 45(4) in a different mechanism.
No, I see the example which was taken up earlier, just now, I think that clarify everything. Now, if we go by that example, maybe if something is lacking in the draft, we can have a look, but that is the intention. Once that is considered, then this issue is taken care of. Once you go by that answer that I gave to the previous hypothetical example.
So, okay, sir, we understand the intent, but I think then the language may need to have a relook.
Yeah, sure.
Correct. Okay. Yes. In fact, in this provision, if this we would have just added the reconstitution, sir, in the existing provision,
नहीं भी 4A कहाँ से आता? 4A भी तो लाना था.
नहीं सर, 4A लाते. 4 सर 4A में मतलब उसमें एसेट की बात आ गई.
खाली रिकंस्ट्रक्शन से भी काम नहीं चलता, वो ट्रांसफर के ऊपर भी बहुत लिटिगेशन है.
नहीं सर, इनका कहने का मतलब है 4 में अगर कैपिटल एसेट और मनी लिख देते उसी के अंदर 4
में, तो उसमें मतलब इंटेंशन ये है सर, उसके कैपिटल बैलेंस से हम जो भी ज्यादा उसको दे रहे हैं.
4 और 4A का ओवरलैप तब भी होता. अगर अभी भी आप 4 में देख लीजिए, अगर उसके अलावा 4A लेके आते ओवरलैप तब भी होता. वो हम पावर ले लेंगे प्रिस्क्राइब करने के लिए, ओवरलैपिंग के लिए वो कर लेंगे. विल डू इट.
Right, sir.
Thank you for pointing it out.
The second issue which I am pointing out is that this amendment may lead to double taxation in the hands of the firm. So at the first place, this is basically tax of the partner, which is being imposed on the partnership firm. So that is understandable. Okay, it is not being paid by the partner, but by the firm. But firm would, in our respectful submission, be subject to double taxation for 2 reasons. Because this enhanced capital gain, capital balance is mainly arising on account of revaluation of assets, right? My assets are firm's assets are revalued on the debit side, and the corresponding credit is given to the partner in the capital account, which is now being sought to tax. But when we see the cost of acquisition of the time when it is transferred, then the revaluation part is to be ignored. So firm is now paying tax, one, at the time when the partner is withdrawing the enhanced capital, and second, when the asset is being transferred, where the revaluation part is...
No, Gaurav, वो तो नहीं होगा. Gaurav, वो तो नहीं होगा. वो तो cost of acquisition तो वही रहेगी ना for the purpose of transfer. Revalue value will not be.
नहीं कहा
हमने कहा है ना, सेल कंसीडरेशन में से माइनस कर देंगे जो पहले टैक्स हो गया है 45(4)(a) में.
हाँ, वो कहा है, वो इशू नहीं. और cost of acquisition तो सेम रहेगी. Revalued value थोड़ी ली जाएगी.
हाँ, तो वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ सर, कॉस्ट ऑफ एक्विजिशन अगर सेम रहेगी तो कैपिटल गेन टैक्स डबल हो गया ना. तो एक ही जगह टैक्स होगा ना, वो उसमें एक्सक्लूजन हो गया ना. तो वो आप बता दें एक बारी, मे बी यू कैन हाईलाइट द ऑडियंस.
48 में एक्सक्लूजन है ना, तो वही वर्षे साहब ने कहा ना, क्लैरिफाई कर देंगे
कि हमारे पास फाइल में तो कुछ नहीं है ऐसा कि कुछ मतलब उस समय कुछ स्टडी हुई हो.
So we can see this. I think let's move forward.
Gaurav, we can go to the next point.
The next important amendment is this depreciation on goodwill. I think he's on a call.
Gaurav,
yes sir.
के बाद ना ये करने के बाद आप liable to tax ले लीजिएगा, because we have been getting requests on the chat कि वो भी आप देख रहे हैं liable to tax.
Liable to tax तरनदीप दे रहा है, I think first.
तो तरन फटाफट देख रहा है, फिर then he can come back. Now let's go
yes,
by
goodwill कर लेते हैं.
Goodwill is very important. Goodwill के बाद इतना या तुम्हारे पास अभी और कितने points हैं?
सर मेरे पास 4-5 points हैं total. I'll rush up quickly. Maybe I'll skip 1 or 2.
नहीं, don't have to because we have the time. ऐसी बात नहीं है. But liable to tax also has to be brought in 10-12 मिनट के लिए, 5-7 मिनट के लिए, वो बात करना. चलिए next.
So the next important amendment is with respect to depreciation on goodwill. Now, in case of what is the existing provision, section 32(1)(2) covers a category of various assets like know-how, patent, copyrights, trademark, license, franchise, and any other business or commercial rights of similar nature. In case of business acquisition, where I'm paying price more than the book value of the assets, and the difference between the book value of the assets and price paid is generally accounted under the head of goodwill. Now that goodwill may not necessarily be goodwill of the business, but could be only the accounting entry to represent the various intangible assets that may be forming part of that business, or maybe various tangible assets, but the nomenclature for accounting is used as goodwill. So considering that this goodwill is nothing but the revalued part of the tangible assets, or the compendious name given to various intangible assets, courts have held that depreciation is available on goodwill, and the most celebrated decision was the decision of Supreme Court in Smith Securities. Now, the memorandum says that goodwill in general is not a depreciable asset, but an appreciable item. So accordingly, in law, in real life, it generally does not depreciate. And in order to bring parity of law with that law has been amended by amending the definition of section 32, definition of assets under section 211, etc., to exclude goodwill of a business or profession from the meaning of block of assets or asset. The intent is to not allow depreciation on such block of asset under section 32 of the Act. And some amendments have also been made in section 50. Section 50 deals that where block of assets ceases to exist. And
Gaurav, can we come to the issue?
Yes.
What are the issues?
So issue is, sir, with respect to the opening block. So my opening block, let us say, is on 1/4/2020. I have already paid price for that goodwill, and I'm continuing that block.
Yeah, so that is why this amendment is in section. We will take goodwill out of that block and tell you how to compute the value of the that block.
So, sir, in my humble understanding, for this, you will need to make amendment in section 43(6), which deals with the definition of block of assets and WDV. That no amendment has been made in that section. And considering this amendment is prospective in nature with effect from 1/4/2021, if we read the law as such, this is a substantive amendment only to goodwill acquired after 1/4/2021 and not to goodwills acquired prior thereto.
No. It's nothing like that. I mean, why? I mean, there's no depreciation on goodwill as so
then there will be no meaning of the effective date of the amendment from 1/4/2021. And
no, from assessment year 21-22, there won't be any depreciation on goodwill. So that is why the significance of 1st April 21.
No, but sir, then we will have to give some meaning to the substantive amendment, prospective and a substantive amendment. And without making amendment to block of assets, sir, we will need to make an amendment to block of assets. No, because my block of assets.
Which one? Which section are you saying?
Sir, I'm saying section 43, subsection 6.
I think Varshney Saab is right when he says that for that under section 50, they'll prescribe a method how to take that goodwill out of the block. Because otherwise,
section 50 will be applicable only when block ceases to exist. When I'm transferring the block.
No. Kindly see, goodwill का अलग से एक block होगा. So अगर वो कह रहे हैं कि goodwill आज के बाद depreciable नहीं होगी, the block is closing, then there will be a short-term capital gain also on that. ना, so they'll prescribe some method to take that goodwill out of it.
पुराना block नहीं खत्म होगा ना, जब तक वो transfer नहीं हो रहा.
अच्छा Gaurav, 43(6) के अंदर, let's come to 43(6). उसमें further C में आते हैं in case of any block of asset.
Yes sir.
Block of asset की definition से हमने हटा दिया उसको goodwill को. तो मतलब what else are you looking at?
नहीं, so I'm looking at the opening block. Sir, my opening block, out of opening block, unless I remove the block which is existing in my block, there will be no removal of that goodwill. I'm only restricting myself to goodwill acquired prior to 1/4/2020.
Let's look at this. See what it is saying is the aggregate value, written out value of all assets falling within that block at the beginning of the previous year. Now beginning of the previous year, that means assessment year 21-22 के beginning को जब मैं देखूंगा तो मेरा 211 कहता है कि गुडविल कैन नॉट बी ए पार्ट ऑफ दिस ब्लॉक ऑफ एसेट।
Hey, Gaurav, इसमें तो this will become a cost of acquisition. In fact, whatsoever the WDV has been there as on 1/4/2020, as per the amendment there in section 55. So this will not be now depreciable. So this has to be removed from the block. Notionally, this has to be calculated separately on that basis that when this goodwill was acquired. Sir, Varshney sir, the point, another point is that what the Gaurav was trying to explain, I will put in a different way. In case of amalgamation or demerger, we are supposed to pass the entries in the books of account on the basis of the book values in the company from which the assets are being transferred, sir. So there is a gap between the two things, and which the, as Gaurav was trying to explain, that may not be representing exactly was being clubbed as a. If you do not want this to be goodwill, then some other way how it is to be done now, because for those purposes, amalgamation, demerger, as have been defined in the act, the entries have to be passed at the same book value. So there will be difference between the figures if the liabilities are more than the assets. So what will be the mechanism now in that the taxation? That is the point, sir.
Varshney sir, I'll just add one small issue to VP sir's question, which is this question even I wanted to raise. Although the memorandum, it seems we have given opinions on this, and the memorandum is dealing with all those issues which we wanted to opine on, which we have opined on. The current problem is that under section 32, when you are saying that they are business not being goodwill, kindly see the amendment. You are saying that it is business or it is commercial rights. So it says
business or commercial
rights of similar nature that not being goodwill. Now, as per the accounting, they have business which are included in that goodwill. You have not defined goodwill anywhere in the act. That goodwill is to be disallowed. Because then there's no reason for business or commercial right.
That, Taran, I think we can still argue that even after.
देखो गौरव, let's सर के पास करें, because we have limited time.
थोड़ी देर के लिए जरा
स्क्रीन anything
बंद कर दोगे? We can see sir also there.
यार फिर वो दोबारा लगानी पड़ेगी. I'll quickly.
ठीक है, my point is considered. Let's move on. The time.
I'll no issues, so then I'll not explaining.
We will take up another session soon, very soon, on all the provisions. There we will explain everything. Issues wale points we will have.
So trust, I don't have any point. I think there are only amendments where set off has been disallowed, repayment of loan has been allowed, and that I can share the.
As regard trust, I have just one point to for Sir. Sir, section there is a condition that these corpus donations have to be kept in a.
एक मिनट hold करना VP sir.
अरे एक second.
The slide is not necessary. That point.
नहीं. वार्षणे साहब unmuted है.
अच्छा, आप unmute कीजिए अजय जी. वार्षणे साहब को unmute कीजिए.
नहीं, एसबी सिंह क्या कर रहे हो यार? वार्षणे साहब को unmute करके मैं तभी कहूँगी हो क्या रहा है बिल्कुल. मेरे को लगता है एसबी सो तो नहीं.
भाई ने सर कर दिया, आप आपको अपने डिवाइस से करना पड़ेगा सर.
हाँ, थैंक यू.
आइए सर.
हाँ, तो क्या हुआ था गुडविल पे, क्या डिसाइड हुआ फिर बाद में?
सर गुडविल का तो आपने जो व्हाट वी आर सेइंग सर कि अमलगमेशन डीमर्जर में वी हैव टू टेक
गुडविल का तो ये डिसाइड ये लग रहा है सर कि आप इसको रिस्टोर ही कर दीजिए, प्रोविजन डेप्रिसिएशन दे ही दीजिए सर.
बहुत चूना लगा लिया तुम लोगों ने यार.
अरे कोविड के टाइम पे डेप्रिसिएशन नहीं हुई गुडविल की, लोगों का भट्टा बैठ गया. आपकी प्रिजम्पशन ही गलत है. आप कह रहे हैं गुडविल हमेशा ऊपर जाती है. गुडविल रह कहां गई है कोविड के टाइम?
अरे अब ये तो छोड़ो. कल मेरे बेटे ने कहा पापा मुझे मालूम पड़ा तुमने क्या कर दिया, मेरी कंपनी को चूना लग गया. चलो ठीक है
सर उसमें यही बात कर रहे थे कि खाली नोमेनक्लेचर दिया जाता है जैसे अमलगमेशन डीमर्जर में, तो जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ नोमेनक्लेचर, अदरवाइज दिस मे नॉट रिप्रेजेंट इन द गुडविल. सो इफ टुमारो some different nomenclature is given, so we have to define what is the scope of the goodwill, and particularly in case of demerger or amalgamation, because this represents the difference between the liabilities and asset side. So that is what.
वो तो ठीक है, देखिए गुप्ता जी, वो तो हम जानते हैं कि ये कितना इसका मिसयूज हो रहा था, तो बाकी जो डिफिकल्टीज हैं वो वी विल कंसीडर, बट इट वाज नेसेसरी, दिस अमेंडमेंट वाज नेसेसरी बिकॉज़ वी ऑल नो हाउ इट वाज मिसयूज्ड.
नहीं वो ठीक है.
नहीं सर, राइट सर.
VP we have very little time. जो हमारे ये जो इशू जो पॉइंटेड है, we will send it to वासने साहब कहीं जा नहीं रहे, we'll let us wait in writing to him, ताकि उसमें फिर फोकस हो जाएगा. अब चैरिटेबल पे आ जाओ.
Gaurav, please you send this presentation also to me if you wish to.
Sure sir, definitely, my pleasure sir.
And we'll send to the entire बार को भी सबको भेजना.
चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट में बहुत अच्छा मतलब अमेंडमेंट किए हैं, बट ओनली आई जस्ट वांटेड टू रेक वन पॉइंट. सर, condition of maintaining deposits in the 11.5 is otherwise applicable to a charitable trust. If he doesn't maintain the funds in the specified mode, then we lose the exemption altogether, and a whole of income will become taxable.
Yes.
Now saying that corpus fund has to be kept separately, specifically, so does it mean that I have to keep two accounts separately, otherwise my normal accumulation and my corpus accumulation? So what purpose it is going to serve? When you are said service will not be available. So even if anybody who spend out of the corpus or otherwise, he will not get any benefit of it.
नहीं, पर्पस सिर्फ यही है. पहले हमने सोचा था कि हम सेपरेट अकाउंट लिखें, फिर हमने कहा कि अकाउंट में क्यों रखें, फिर भी आपको तो 11.5 अलाउ है, तो हम आपके ऊपर कंडीशन क्यों डालें कि आप कॉर्पस को सेपरेट अकाउंट में रखें? वो तो हार्श हो जाता है आपके ऊपर. तो
अभी भी
पर्पस ये है कि सेपरेट होना चाहिए. 11.5 में रखिए, लेकिन एक सेपरेट आइडेंटिफाइबल होना चाहिए कि ये है कॉर्पस. पर्पस ये है.
सर, जो अकाउंट्स में होता है वो मर्ज हो जाता है. जो मेरा बैलेंस कैपिटल फंड होता है उसमें जो मेरी नॉर्मल एक्यूमुलेशन वो भी आती है और कॉर्पस वाली भी आती है.
हमने कहा 1 अप्रैल के बाद से आप उसको अलग अकाउंट रखेंगे कॉर्पस के लिए, या अलग 11.5 का मोड ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट रखेंगे?
नहीं सर, बट अगर मेरा एप्लीकेशन ज्यादा है आज करंट ईयर में और आप उसका मुझे बेनिफिट नहीं दे रहे हैं अगले सालों में, तो फिर देन पर्पस इज सर्व्ड.
नहीं, पर्पस अब नहीं है. हम उसको ट्रैक कैसे करेंगे? अगर आपका कॉर्पस अलग नहीं होगा तो हम ट्रैक कैसे करेंगे कि कॉर्पस से किया है आपने या कहां से किया है?
सर, मेरा जो फंड है, तो इसका मतलब तो ये हुआ कि मैं जो दूसरी जो मेरी अक्यूमुलेशन है वो तो मैं जैसे मर्जी यूज कर सकता हूँ. कॉर्पस का मुझे अलग अकाउंट रखना है, एक तरह से स्पेसिफाइड अकाउंट में. तो मेरा तो सबमिशन यही है कि मेरा तो कंबाइंड फंड जो भी एक्यूमुलेशन है वो हो जाता है, और अगर आप मेरे को जो बेनिफिट नहीं दे रहे हैं, जो मेरा एक्सेस अमाउंट है, तो फिर मैटर एंड्स.
नहीं, खाली मैटर एक्सेस अमाउंट का नहीं होता है ना. आप 85% भी कॉर्पस से खर्च करके मीट कर लेते हैं
सर. मैं
85% से 100% के बीच में आ जाते हैं. देखिए, आप समझिए, बात खाली 100% के एक्सेस का नहीं है, बात उससे पहले का भी है. अगर कॉर्पस को हम इनकम नहीं मान रहे हैं तो एक लॉजिकल है कि उसका एक अलग से आइडेंटिफाइबल हो कि भैया ये जो पैसा आया ये इनकम नहीं है, और इसका जो एक्यूमुलेशन है वो उसका खर्चा वो एप्लीकेशन नहीं है, इसीलिए अलग से आइडेंटिफाइबल.
सर, उसमें कोई इशू नहीं है, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. मैं तो सिर्फ एक पॉइंट ये था कि 11.5 में तो मुझे सारा ही रखना है, तो उसको स्पेसिफाइड अलग सेपरेट अकाउंट या जो है वो शायद उसकी आप ठीक समझते हैं तो ठीक है, इट इज ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम. There was just a procedural thing कि whether it should be necessary to maintain me separate account, because मुझे बैलेंस शीट में फिर अलग फंड रखना पड़ेगा कि ये कॉर्पस फंड है, ये दूसरा फंड है. और उस तरह से मुझे 11.5 का भी अलग डिपॉजिट रखना पड़ेगा कि एक बैंक में ये रखा है, उसका बैंक में दूसरे में रखा है, अलग अकाउंट में रखा है. ठीक है, इफ दैट इज इंटेंशन, ठीक है.
सीएस के लिए काम ज्यादा बढ़ेगा. अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं. चलिए
sir, next is this request for this employees contribution to provident fund. I think we had the decision of Supreme Court in Vinay Cements where they held that employees contribution and employers contribution needs to be treated equitably, because the government has given a liberal interpretation to employees contribution when they are permitting them to deposit it before the due date of filing the return of income. My only and there was a even recommendation by the PGDIT Legal and Research that no SLP will be filed before the Supreme Court on this issue if the decision was in favor of the assessee by the High Court. Now, so the issue is that in section 43B, when I receive, when the employee's contribution is deposited, if it is not deposited before the due date of return, it is disallowed in the first year, but is allowed in the second year when the payment is made. But in case of employee's contribution, if I miss the due date, even by 1 day, it is gone out completely. So
that is what the intention of the government is.
So
it's
it is
label,
harsh.
Yes, it may be. But I'm just telling you the intention of the government. It's a conscious, deliberate call by the government to have this proposal in the budget, and which has the backing of all MPs. In fact, I had on the 1st of February, I had gone to address member of parliaments also, explaining them what is the budget provisions. They were very happy with this proposal, cutting across party lines. I'm not talking about any particular party, because they say that we keep on getting complaint from the labor class about this, that my employer does not deposit in time. And they said they were very happy with this amendment, and this is a conscious call. It is concerning with labor welfare.
ठीक है, नहीं चलिए, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल साहब, ये तो पॉलिसी है तो पॉलिसी है।
Right.
अब बताइए साहब, स्लम सेल पे बताओ।
Slum sale पे sir, it's only an amendment. I think there is no issue. It's a clarificatory amendment. Earlier, when there was an exchange, we were arguing that it is not within slum sale, and therefore it should not be taxed. So it's a welcome.
One thing on slum sale.
Yes, sir.
I was reading the article of Agarwal sir. I think last year he was there in this your Bar Council meeting. I don't know whether today he has joined or not. His article was that because we have not done amendment in 2014, so you know it will suffer. My observation was that if it is not capital asset, so are you going to say it is my business asset? I mean, so maybe, I mean, I just want to have reaction from you, and then I mean, so that is something probably maybe you people can have a, you know, your view whether amendment in 2014 is required, that
No,
we should make undertaking as a capital asset.
So sir, the
So he's saying
provision was
undertaking
already.
is not a capital asset.
Sir,
No, I
provision
don't
was
think it is
already in
required.
existence, and so when slump sale, when there was sale by way of a consideration, it was already getting taxed under 50B. Then
Yes.
merely because that consideration is to be discharged by share, there cannot be any further amendment required in section 215. Undertaking is itself a capital asset
Yes.
in terms of section 214.
Yeah, because if you say it is not a capital asset, then it is a business asset. You probably have to pay more tax, I think.
So
I
it's a
don't think
welcome
that-
amendment, I would say.
Yes, there is no amendment is required there, sir.
Next.
So now next is this TDS provision, just for the audience. Now earlier we had a TCS provision when seller was to collect TCS when making sale of goods beyond 50 lakhs. Now reverse, the TDS has now been imposed on the buyer also if he's making purchases beyond 50 lakhs. Now if a transaction falls within the purview of 194Q, that is TDS, then it will be outside the ambit of TCS. So only one tax will be applicable. If it is TDS, then TDS will be paid, no TCS. If no TDS, then TCS will be applicable. So the only point which we wanted to make is that when similar kind of transaction was already suffering TCS, albeit in the hands of seller, then what was the need of imposing it in the hands of the buyer? Because the conditions otherwise remain the same. It is say buy and sale transaction, that too of a limit beyond 50 lakhs, and the condition of seller is also same. If he has a turnover of more than 10 crores, then why to have this dual provision in the same statute and creating a compliance burden on the hands of a buyer?
Yes, so it is not same. It might appears to be same because conditions are same. So let me explain. TDS is for the purchaser. If I am purchasing a good, there is a TDS liability on me. TCS is on seller. If he is selling the goods, there is a liability on him. Now the condition is 10 crore turnover. Now I am a purchaser, he is a seller. If my turnover is more than 10 crore, TDS. His turnover is less than 10 crore, doesn't matter. There is a liability on me. Other way around, his turnover is more than 10 crore, seller turnover, but buyer turnover is less than 10 crore. Then there is a TCS. Only one way, you know.
Sir, but now we all will be doing only this calculation of turnover.
You know your previous year turnover. I mean, you don't have to do any calculation. You know your previous year turnover. If it is more than 10 crore, then you are liable for both TDS for your purchases and TCS for your collections. I mean, you know that.
Yes, sir. So we understand. We were just thinking why two provisions. I take your point. VPG, anything you want to add?
or GC साहब, anybody. नहीं तो चलो आगे. Let's move.
So last only I wanted to point it out that now there is an additional burden on the deductor if the payee has not filed the return of income for last 2 years, then the buyer will be obliged to deduct tax at source at twice the existing rate or 5%, whichever is higher. So the point which I wanted to make over here is now the compliance of taking PAN of the payee was simple. We can simply take the PAN, fill in the TDS return form and comply with our obligation of deducting TDS at a normal rate. Now, but how will the buyer or a payer will comply with obtaining the tax returns, and that too of 2 years of the payee? So it will be
we will give you a functionality. Currently, we have given that functionality to the banks because 194N. So banks can put a PAN and he knows 194N is applicable or not. So similarly, we will provide a functionality whether 206AB is applicable or not, whether 194Q is applicable or not. So you just put the PAN, you will know.
No, sir, but PAN will be put at the time when we are filing the TDS return.
Gaurav.
Yes, sir.
I can see that your presentation is on every provision. Is that so? Am I right?
No. On the portion allocated to me, it's the last slide. And I'll
But
then
no. I was very heartened. I thought if it's on every provision, our members will be greatly benefited if you send it.
I will send it, but it is for 6 to 7 provisions which I was doing.
It will be too harsh to tell you to do it for the others also because it looks very good.
I will do it for others, but I'll need some time.
Do it, please do it. I will be really grateful, eternally grateful to you.
Yeah. So Vaishnav sir, what I was pointing out that functionality will come in when I'm filing the TDS return. That you may give me a functionality that when I'm filling the PAN number.
No. Throughout the year, when you enter PAN, you know whether you have to deduct this tax or not.
Okay. So that's a heartening news to hear from you.
Good. They have preempted that.
Yeah, they have preempted that. So with this, I am through with my portion. I think now I'll hand over the baton to Tarandeep for his portion of amendments.
Taran, start with liable.
Sir, liable से शुरू करते हैं. Now, sir, the proposed amendment is in section 2. There's a new section which they are introducing in section 229A. Now, before I do that, the settled position was that right up to Supreme Court, wherein they said that it is not possible for one to accept that avoidance of double taxation can arise only when tax is actually paid in one of the contracting states. Liable to tax would also cover cases where other contracting state has right to tax such person irrespective of whether or not such right is exercised. However, now the amendment which is being proposed, they want to say that there is a liability to tax and includes where subsequent to tax imposition exemption is provided. So it is more like section 10 exemptions that you are liable to tax, but section 10 exemptions are being there. Now I want to just highlight to Vaishnav Saab, and please will respectfully seek his guidance. Is this amendment only restricted to the problem that was visualized when section 6 में आपने last year amendment करी थी, जहाँ पे आपने section 6 में explanation, section 6 में 1A introduce करा था? Because over there, liable to tax for the purpose of residency is there. There are twofold questions which I have. If it is only for the purpose of section 6, this definition, probably they have a good case. But when I go to the memorandum, they say no, liable to tax is not defined either under the Act, under section 90, sec 90A, and they also say in section 6 and section 1023 FE. Now, when it comes to the DTA, section 90 subsection 3 says that if a term is not defined under the DTA, you can define it under the notification. Now, this suo moto amendment in the Act, which merely going by the reading of this section in section 2, because definitions under section 2 have to be read unless the context otherwise prescribes. Now, if I go to the DTA, in DTA's article 3 of virtually any DTA says that the terms which are not defined over there, you can go to the domestic law, but then this is going to be a unilateral amendment in the Act to get out of applicability of DTA. Now, why I'm highlighting this is that for triggering applicability of DTA, we are presuming that SSC would have filed a TRC with the department, and not only that, that TRC today for virtually every DTA there are MLI signed. So there is a principal purpose test also wherein the department can verify this very fact. So what is the reason that in the memorandum they are saying that we are introducing this definition also for section 90, but when I literally read it, it seems the intention is only to define what is being what was the bottleneck in section 6. Just to complete my point, whether unilaterally you can amend the act to say treaty is not applicable, the matter is settled. And for the benefit of all the audience, this very issue, vis-a-vis when a definition is defined in the act, recently a larger bench has also been made by in ITAT Bombay. That larger bench notification is there, and it is reported in 184 ITD 743. So I just want to understand from Varshney sir that what was the definition says it is only in section 2, but why do they say in the memorandum it's also to catch out of, it's also to elaborate definition in section 90 vis-a-vis DTS?
Yeah, because 90 and 90A, all treaty says that any term not defined in the treaty will take a definition from the domestic law. So that is why it is there. And now coming to the main issue, I can, you know, I don't know about that ITAT is constituted or not. I can go and argue before that ITAT. Talk to any international tax expert. The liable to tax definition that is proposed by the finance minister in the finance bill is exactly the same which all law commentators write, whether it is Philip Baker or whether it is OECD. This is what the definition of liable to tax is. This is what even Supreme Court said in Azadi Bachao. This is what even AAR said in Abdul Razak case after Azadi Bachao, relying on Azadi Bachao, that this is what liable to tax is. So when Supreme Court said that may not exercise his right, means he has given that exemption. But liable to tax cannot be that if there is no income tax in that country, you say it is liable to tax. Then there is no need of putting the word liable to tax. Then anybody is liable to tax.
No, so my submission is my small submission.
Yeah,
is
let me complete.
Let him finish.
Sorry.
Now when that Abdul Razak judgment came, the Dubai Treaty, UAE Treaty had this word liable to tax. And in that judgment, before, it's a very detailed judgment. It has discussed all earlier judgment of AAR on liable to tax. It has also discussed Supreme Court judgment in Azadi Bachao. It has also discussed all the commentary like Philip Baker and all. And then it has also discussed the communication between UAE and India when the treaty was entered and liable to tax word was used. In that communication, UAE has said that, yes, we intend to have an income tax act within 6 months' time. And therefore, the word liable to tax was used. And after this judgment, UAE then again renegotiated treaty with India and dropped the word liable to tax.
Definitely, yes.
So you see all this argument. It is that what has been proposed to be defined in section 2 is exactly what I challenge anybody who is an expert outside India say that this is not the correct definition of liable to tax.
Sir, with due respect, sir, Abdul Razak was a view, but ITAT never accepted that view.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
So please don't say that. Don't say that.
Unmute Mr. GC Srivastava, please.
My point is that by this unilateral amendment today, now you're proposing this amendment. So please don't say that the 4 lines that I read out was not held anywhere. They were held repetitively by ITAT after Abdul Razak, disagreeing with Abdul Razak because that was a single advance ruling judgment following Azadi Bachao thereafter. Now the issue is that your unilateral amendment today, are we saying that the TRC is issued by, let's say, no, I agree, Dubai has amended the treaty. Let's talk about Qatar, let's talk about Kuwait. Do we say that the TRC is issued by these countries is not to be respected? Once they have issued it, that they're liable to tax.
That is what they are saying, they are resident of that country, but they are not saying whether they are liable to tax. See, let's not mix up. Residency is one requirement, liable to tax is another requirement, beneficial ownership is another requirement, and PPT is 4th. Now you brought PPT also MLI, nothing to do. PPT has got nothing to do with the liable to tax. See, these are all independent requirements to be eligible for tax treaty. Let us not say that if I am eligible as a resident, I must also be liable to tax. Or if I pass PPT, then I am also resident. I mean, these things cannot be combined. Or if I am resident, I must be beneficial owner also. These are all independent tests which must be satisfied before anybody gets benefit of tax treaty.
जीसी साहब टर्न हो गया सर, आपका क्या?
This controversy has been going on unnecessarily because liable to tax means what it is. I mean, rightly defined now, because this definition was needed for the reason. See, Abdul Razak, whatever be the ITAT view, Abdul Razak analyzes in great detail this issue, and that the reference was made to that Supreme Court decision. Somehow that is not understood. The concept there was not. So this was going on, and if the person is not liable to tax, and for being a person eligible to claim the treaty benefit, he has to be liable to tax as per Article 4 of that treaty. Right? So that expression has to be there. But no controversy otherwise in many jurisdictions. But here, since in India it was created, got generated. So good that it is now settled. I mean,
no, sir. It's my point is that it's going to lead in more litigation, because kindly see now department is going to say I don't rely upon the TRC, but I am going to interpret the foreign law whether you were liable to tax and then an exemption is provided. Kindly see, then today the assessing officer is going to interpret a foreign law that whether you were whether the tax was chargeable and then an exemption is provided. Ignoring the TRC which a foreign government has issued.
Yeah, but independent है. अगर वहाँ पर Taran, if the Income Tax Act is there, then fine, you come within. These are the 4 tests. If the Income Tax Act itself is not there, yeah, sovereign power hai, they can always have the Income Tax in the future. That doesn't mean you are liable to tax. But if the Income Tax Act is there, and it is existent, which is not a very difficult thing to find out, you are liable to the benefit.
So we are rejecting the synchronicity of the TRC.
No, Taradip, just see like this. Just see a simple question: which jurisdiction is going to decide the application of the treaty? Obviously, where the income arises, accrues, and who is going to apply the treaty, that jurisdiction alone will decide. And if the person is not at all liable to any kind of tax in that sovereign state,
I'm just highlighting this is going to be more
litigate. कोई गल नहीं, litigate कर लें, कम कितना चाहिए.
Once again, let me just repeat at the cost of repetition. See, TRC has a purpose, I think, but it has the only purpose that he is resident of this country. But there are other requirements, and this is not what I say. This is what OECD says, that other requirements are also required to be satisfied. And it doesn't mean tomorrow assessing officer say you may be having a valid TRC, but you are not beneficial owner. So can you say then what is the sanctity of TRC? No, you can't say, because that is what OECD also says, that if he's not beneficial owner, not for capital gain, but for interest dividend, you can say that I won't give you tax-free benefit.
Next point क्या?
Next जो important point है sir, equalization levy का है. Now in equalization levy, few steps in a welcome direction have been taken in this budget. Yes, there was a problem, a gray area, wherein few definitions, few issues were not defined. So it was all left to the dictionaries and to the terms generally being used that people would have to argue these matters. So they have defined now what is the meaning of online sale of goods, what is the meaning of online provision of services. My only request to Varshney Sahab is there are more terms. What is the meaning of a platform? There are more such technical terms. It will only reduce litigation if you please define all those terms. Okay. Second, sir, there is no right of appeal. When this provision was introduced, there is no right of appeal challenging the chargeability. Okay. Please give that right of appeal to the SSE so that they can challenge the chargeability. Today, the right of appeal is only vis-a-vis penalty, levy of penalty, but not vis-a-vis chargeability. Then, sir, please also, if possible, clarify why this definition, why section 1050 was made applicable from 21-22. Is it a clerical error which has taken place, or is it purposely the department says that although equalization levy came in from 2021, but 1050 के amendment जो 21-22 से applicable है?
नहीं, वो assessment year 21-22 है, इसका मतलब ये financial year 2021 है.
नहीं सब एक बारी देख लें, उसमें शायद दोनों अगर आप देखें वो असेसमेंट ईयर 2021 से आप लेकर आए थे फॉर एडवर्टाइजिंग.
नहीं, नो, वो 1 अप्रैल देखिए जो इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी आई है वो फाइनेंस एक्ट से आई है. जीसी सर मुझे करेक्ट कर सकते हैं. फाइनेंस एक्ट में असेसमेंट ईयर नहीं होता है, असेसमेंट ईयर इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में ही होता है। तो फाइनेंस एक्ट के अंदर 1 अप्रैल 2020 से आया है, तो इसका मतलब फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2021 से आया है। उसको जब हम असेसमेंट ईयर में कन्वर्ट करते हैं तो वो असेसमेंट ईयर 21-22 हो जाता है। इसमें कोई मिसमैच नहीं है।
सर अगर आप सेक्शन 1050 देखेंगे तो वहां पे लिखा है ट्रांजैक्शंस ऑन और आफ्टर 1/4/2021।
सो उसको चेंज कर दिया ना इस साल चेंज तो कर दिया, 20 तो कर दिया है।
नहीं, इस साल इसमें आपने कहा, इसमें आपने नहीं करा।
क्या है आप देखिए, कर दिया 1050 में, देखिए
Yes, sorry, we missed it. I missed it, sir. Sorry. Then, sir, एक issue और हमारा ये आ रहा था इसमें. Yes, you'll definitely define those terms which are still. What do you mean by platform? What do you mean by? I'll just point out these terms. What do you mean by electronic facility? What is digital? Please define those terms, because otherwise these will result in litigations.
Okay.
All these, although yes, an interpretation is possible, which we have advised, that yes, there are many sales returns which take place in such online platform. So how do you take the consideration? You levy the equalization levy, and what happens when the goods come back to the purchaser? There is an interpretation possible, but your clarification is only going to reduce that litigation, because that interpretation may not be taken by all the assessing officers.
Gaurav and Gautam, you see, they are very useful and meaningful discussions हुई हैं. मेरी request ये है कि within, let's cap it in the next 2-3 days. वाशने साहब को जो हमारे points है, sir, we will just summarize them and present them to you.
Sure. And in fact, maybe, I mean, we were making, just having a light hearted talks with Gupta ji, but I want any of those drafting error with Gupta ji was pointing out, if you could compile them and give it to us.
Most certainly, Gupta ji, बिल्कुल correct.
एक drafting error इसमें equalization levy में ये लग रही है, sir. Probably I may be wrong sometimes. But अगर आप ये देखें, when you want to amend section 165 subsection 3, probably जो amendment में numbering है वो गलत है. If you can just have a look into that.
Okay, ठीक है. We will have a look. Amendment numbering. Okay.
This is clause 159. 159 का पहला portion तो ठीक है, जहाँ आपने 159A is okay, but in 159 clause I and 2 are okay, but clause Roman 3 of the amendment.
ठीक है,
एक बार प्लीज को देखिए,
इसको चेक कर लेते हैं. ठीक
साहब, ऐसा है, एक हमारे पास एक हमारे सीनियर एडवोकेट हैं, who has been the past president of the bar and is our mentor, Mr. Syali. So can I request Mr. Syali, MS Syali, SB, can you unmute him? उनको he would want to say a few words.
Yes. Syali sir, video भी on कर लो please.
I'm sorry, but
वीडियो नहीं करेंगे कभी भी. He would not. He would not want कि ऐसे फ्री में तुम सब उनकी शक्ल देगा, ऐसे थोड़ा ना होगा.
अरे सियाली साहब के पास हम जाते थे जब हम नए डिपार्टमेंट में आए थे, तब हमारे अपने केस लेके आते थे.
अच्छा,
नहीं, thank you so much. वाशने साहब, मेरा एक रिक्वेस्ट है, and it's in continuation of what you mentioned about the reassessment provisions. There is a drastic change now. I mean, earlier the reassessment proceedings had 2 stages. One was, one had to see whether the jurisdiction was correctly assumed. And the second was that once the jurisdiction was correctly assumed, then you proceed to assess or reassess. Now it appears as if the issue of jurisdiction has been totally dispensed with. Because there are no fetters by which we can examine the assumption of jurisdiction. Now the reassessment can take place, yes, to be followed by an issue of notice under 148. And that issue is thereafter hedged by saying that there should be information, and that information should satisfy the criteria of section 148, 149.
Right, sir.
As you rightly said, that the intention right now is to restrict the reassessment under 147 to only those cases. May I humbly request that those conditions then be brought instead of 148 into 147.
Okay.
But by that, then the jurisdiction cannot be assumed if those conditions are not there.
Right.
Otherwise, kya hoga, sahab? The exercise will start and then one would be looking for excuses to justify that. That's my only humble request to you.
Right.
Thank you so much. It's always as a pleasure. I've been listening to it for a pretty long time now, and I'm truly thrilled to speak to you. Thank you so much, Ajay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much,
Welcome.
Vaishnav.
Always welcome. Always welcome. Always welcome. Vaishnav साहब, मजा आ गया. You know, it would have been nothing if you had not made it somehow. और this is not the end of it, sir. एक बारी हम आपको दोबारा बताएंगे क्योंकि एक कुछ और चीजें क्रिस्टलाइज होने से रह गई. We will have to.
Maybe अभी क्या होता है शुरू में तो शुरू में काफी प्रेशर होता है. आप देख ही रहे हैं. There are a lot of work going on. Maybe पार्लियामेंट जब रिसेस में जाएगी 13th फरवरी को, when Parliament will go into recess, तो उस समय थोड़ा सा फिर भी हम टाइम निकाल पाना आसान होगा. तो if you want to have it, we can have it again. No issue.
एक बस थोड़ी सी दरखास्त ये थी. मेरे फादर सर, you know, he has been a part of the department.
हाँ जी.
And he is at 87 going very strong.
Right.
अभी तक उनका रिटायरमेंट का कोई मूड नहीं था. आपने उनको 1 फरवरी से रिटायर कर दिया बिल्कुल. He is so upset. And I told him कि एक बार आ जाओ इसके अंदर. ऐसा मत करो सर. He has another 20-30 years to go. ये सेटलमेंट कमीशन को चालू करवा दो. मतलब in a different manner.
On a lighter note,
वो हमारे साथ एक ग्रुप में भी है. He is a part of a group also.
हाँ. वो थोड़ा सा.
On a lighter note, अगर फेसलेस की नोटिफिकेशन आ जाएगी तो मे बी बार भी ये बार की भी लास्ट मीटिंग होगी.
हाँ सर, हमारा क्या बनेगा? अब तो हम ये सोच रहे हैं कि अगर फेसलेस आ गई तो हमारे पास करीब 90 लाख रुपया बार एसोसिएशन में पड़ा, वो जाएगा कहाँ?
वो वासे साहब को बोलो भी एग्जाम कर दे उसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन.
Sir, may I make just 2 points?
हाँ.
Sir, may I make just 2 points, sir? Sir, I'm sorry, when the TDS matter was going on, my connection got disconnected. So, sir, as regards TDS and purchases, sir, last year also we had made this point to you that the amount of TDS is immaterial. In fact, there is very small amount. If one is purchasing for 1 crore rupees, then on 50 lakh one has to deduct at 0.1%, which is amounts to 5,000 or that. Now, sir, the presumption behind these provisions, can we imagine that in today's time, the person who is having turnover of 10 crore rupees or buying or selling 50 lakhs rupees, he will not be having PAN or he will not be filing return or he is defaulting.
It is the other way. 10 crore rupees की problem नहीं है, जो दूसरे वाला है उसकी problem है.
नहीं सर, दूसरे वाले का भी 50 लाख जिसका टर्नओवर है, जीएसटी में रजिस्टर्ड है, सब कुछ आज की डेट में इतना आपके पास डाटा अवेलेबल है. सो इमेजिन, क्योंकि इसमें सर मतलब पॉइंट लास्ट ईयर भी बहुत ये इशू डिस्कशन हुआ और जब ये बाद में भी आपका जो क्लैरिफिकेशन आया 1 अक्टूबर से इंप्लीमेंट होना था, 29 सितंबर को क्लैरिफिकेशन नोटिस आया, उसको हाउ इट इज टू बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड, दैट हैज बीन अ वेरी बिग इशू एंड नाउ दैट हैज फर्दर सप्लीमेंटेड द प्रॉब्लम्स हियर टू डिसाइड कि हु विल डिडक्ट, वेदर ही इज लायबल और आई एम लायबल. एंड इट इज नॉट सर, theoretically we may say very rightly data is there and all that, but developing a software in that particular fashion and finding out for each party whether he is liable or I am liable and then making my software in that particular fashion, it's a very difficult job, sir. We have to think of the corporates which are big assessees having turnover of more than thousands or 2,000, 5,000 crores. Then how, sir, they are ready to do everything whatsoever the department wants, but purpose is not being served. In fact, that is my, so we have to reconsider this.
Gupta ji, this is a policy call by the government, conscious call. So I will not be right for me to comment on that.
नहीं सर, हमें बड़े काम चाहिए, हमें वो ITAT की वो हेयरिंग चाहिए प्रॉपर, सेटलमेंट में चाहिए, छोटी कोई बात नहीं है सर. आप उसको 20 लाख रुपए का तो काट देंगे TDS, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. अब आप
20 लाख करो तो काट देंगे ना, 500 रुपए काटना बड़ा.
मेरे को 5 मिनट बचे हैं, अभी मुझे जाना है.
एक पॉइंट मेरा ये कहना चाहता है जो आप
यार उनको नहीं, तुम्हारा BP तुम्हारा ये डिसाइड हो गया है, सर हैज एग्रीड टू टेक यू टू द TPL फॉर ऑन लोन. अब ये कर लेते हैं, उसने जाना 5 मिनट उनको, यार वो प्लेजेंट ट्रीज में एक बार भेज दें, बहुत उनको थका दिया हमने. सर आपको हमने यू विल अहुजा जी, हां सर, प्लीज डू द ऑनर. सर हैड प्रॉमिस्ड कि हम इसको बिल्कुल इतना टाइम पर को छोड़ना है हमें.
सर थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर एक्सीडिंग टू आवर रिक्वेस्ट इन स्पाइट ऑफ ऑल द प्रेशर्स ऑन यू. And not only just coming, you came for a good 3 hours. That's a whole lot of time, and we really appreciate. and the fact that you came in like a Dharminder, taking all the persons who attacked you, you defended so very well. और आपने जो बात की बात करी कि एक दंगल से आप खुश नहीं है, आपने कहा एक मौका और देंगे, आ जाओ।
और इन्होंने ये भी कह दिया कि हम सेटलमेंट और ये तुम्हारा ITAT देखेंगे, करेंगे, होगा आगे। जिंदाबाद। मिल गया हमको। नहीं साहब, we have to acknowledge your presence and your great. We are so grateful to you. सबको सुना आपने patiently, and I think for this he needs an applause.
Thank you.
Sir, and this is the problem in virtual. अब आप देख physically होते हैं तो आपका applause इतना जोर से सुनाई देता कि सर कान बंद करने पड़ जाते हैं। अब virtual में क्यों हमें फंसा रहे हो सर? Right sir. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
sir. Thank you.
Grateful. Thank you very much. Thank you, friend. Thank you very much, Srivastava Sahab. Thank you, CP Sahab.
Thank you.
And the three, ये जो गौरव and Gautam और तरन ने बिल्कुल जबरदस्त तरीके से तैयारी की, और अग्रवाल साहब, जीडी साहब, आपने तो बड़ा स्ट्रक्चर तरीके से, बड़े साइंटिफिक तरीके से ITAT के एक एक पॉइंट को एनालाइज करके बताया. We are so very grateful to JD साहब as always.
अमित शुक्ला साहब का भी थैंक यू करते हैं.
अमित शुक्ला साहब तो
और प्रशांत महर्षि साहब भी सुन रहे हैं पर आगे नहीं आ रहे. हाँ महर्षि साहब भी सुन रहे हैं, आगे नहीं आ रहे. और पन्नू साहब का मैसेज आया था कि वो he wanted to participate but he is in a low connectivity area. He is in Jammu and Kashmir, so he could not connect in spite of my.
So RS, we can request our three friends, since they have done so much research already, इसको थोड़ा स्ट्रक्चर तरीके से गौरव करके हमारी जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है, एक मेमोरेंडम है, हमारे बाहर के लोगों को भी और इनको भी एक अच्छे तरीके से आप लोग सब बना के भेजते हैं.
ठीक है.
And then let us see where it goes.
Sure.
Because essentially तो अच्छी दो तीन चीजें हमको मेजर प्रॉब्लम वाली हैं. And I must also talk to my friends here since we have the occasion that the Bombay bar called us and they said that we are very upset with the proposed provision for faceless. ITAT किसी भी स्टेट ऑफ इमेजिनेशन में फेसलेस नहीं हो सकता. वर्चुअल भी होना इम्पॉसिबल है, बहुत मुश्किल का काम है. इट इज कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट. दे हैव कंप्लीटली मिसकंस्ट्रूड कॉन्सेप्ट ही इनका गलत इन्होंने ले लिया है. CITAP डिपार्टमेंटल ऑफिसर, उसके सामने AO नहीं बैठा होता, यहाँ पर दो लोग होते हैं. मतलब देयर आर umpteen reasons we can give why it cannot even be virtual. It has to be. तो इनका जो टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ कंप्यूटराइजेशन है, ऑनलाइन फाइलिंग तक हो, लेकिन हियरिंग हमारी सबकी पर्सनल होनी चाहिए. ऑप्शन हमारे पास होना चाहिए. वर्चुअल चाहिए तो वर्चुअल. तो इसके लिए we are going to make representations, and if things do not work out, we are all going to collaborate and obviously move to the court. We are not going to allow this institution to go away.
And Tikri border also, sir.
वो जगह खाली होगी तो जाएंगे ना. वो तो उसमें पता नहीं अब कितना वहां टाइम लगेगा, बट डजंट मैटर. देखते हैं कोई और जगह भी है.
नहीं, तुम्हारे को जनपद पे वहां बैठने देंगे. जनपद पे बैठ जाओ.
पता नहीं अब
जंतर मंतर पे जगह दे देंगे तुम्हें यार.
चलिए साहब, ठीक. So thank you so much friends. अब we are going to come back again on these provisions, क्योंकि कई रह गई और कईयों में explanation नहीं हुआ, because today we wanted to canvas our point to Varshney Saab, so we did not go through the provisions also as much as we would have liked to. So एक हम और करेंगे very soon, maybe in a week, 10 days, and we will go through the relevant provisions also. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for a very patient, and thank you to our experts.
Thank you for the
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Bye.
Thank you SB.
Gaurav, Gautam,
Thank you SP.
Thank you VP sir. Thank you GC sir.
SP, thanks a lot.
SP का तो SP हमारा स्तंभ है.
नहीं इसको यार मेरा बार बार डिस्कनेक्ट हो रहा था. So I've been bothering him again and again कि यार unmute करो.
So sweet.
SB sir, recording share कर लीजिएगा.
Recording हमें share
हाँ,
कर
recording
देंगे.
YouTube में डाल देंगे.
Yeah.
हमारी कितनी अच्छी किस्मत है, ये शेयरिंग की रिकॉर्डिंग मिल सकती है.
जल्दी ले लो नहीं तो उड़ जाएगी.
Okay sir.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.